Hey, what's up, Nashville? I am Beau Beach. This is the Free Speech Podcast presented by Beechwood Commercial Real Estate Brokerage, the top broker for sellers in Nashville and the Southeast. As always, we are going to bring you the top 10 stories from around Nashville involving commercial real estate, business, politics, culture, sports, whatever we think is informative, entertaining. I'm going to give you a quick overview of all the stories we're going to present for you today, and then we'll get into it. Number one, Napster. Did you know Napster still exists? Did you know that Napster is headquartered in Nashville, and it actually just sold for $207 million? Perhaps I knew Napster was in Nashville and I just forgot. That's a function of getting older. But very interesting story. I'll catch you up on what Napster is today, and I'll tell you the story of that sale. Next, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg are opening a cocktail lounge in downtown Nashville. Very interesting. Next, consumer confidence has just dropped to a 4-year low. I'll describe for you what that means and what that may mean for the greater real estate market. Kid Rock is rebranding a Nashville restaurant. I'll tell you that story. Another golf venue is eyeing Nashville. If you've been listening to the podcast for any period of time, we've been bringing you stories on these unique uses of commercial real estate. Golf is just booming. Inside golf is booming in Nashville with yet another golf venue planned. I'll tell you that story. The Boston Celtics sold for a record-breaking price. Oracle leases more space. I'll give you an update on where Oracle is in terms of their headcount and their plan to develop their Riverside new United States headquarters. Family Dollar sells for a massive loss, a head-scratching, staggering loss. I'll tell you that story. A mixed-use project is to include a new baseball stadium that would, in concept, become home to a new Major League Baseball team in Nashville. And lastly, the Ritz-Carlton, which has been long planned for downtown, has abandoned the original developer, has a new site in mind. I'll tell you that story. So let's get into it. Napster. I'm 43 years old. I think I came up right at the sweet spot of Napster when the file sharing craze first started. You basically had access to unlimited songs that you could burn to your own CD. It was a very, very fun time. But that type of file sharing, peer-to-peer file sharing went out of vogue a long, long time ago. So what does Napster do today? Why are they worth $207 million? Let me tell you. Infinite Reality has agreed to pay $207 million for music streaming service Napster, which moved its headquarters to Music City in 2023. So Napster, in its peer-to-peer file sharing infancy, right, got put out of business by the streaming services. Then Napster, it seems, became a streaming service itself. I didn't know this, but it must have some type of traction to be worth $207 million, right? Now, what started as a peer-to-peer file sharing system became a digital streaming service that has more than 110 million songs and has paid over $1 billion in royalties to artists and songwriters. Infinite Reality plans to take Napster into its next chapter as a social and interactive music platform. With the new Napster, artists will be able to interact with their fans through virtual concerts, merchandise, enhanced analytics, games, and sponsorships. This strategic move aligns with Infinite Reality's vision to lead an internet industry shift from a flat 2D clickable web to a 3D conversational one, giving all creators modern tools to better engage, monetize, and measure their audiences. The internet has evolved from desktop to mobile, from mobile to social, and now we are entering the immersive era. Yet music streaming has remained largely the same. It's time to reimagine what's possible. Infinite Reality is a digital media company that creates immersive digital experiences for its clients. Imagine stepping into a virtual venue to watch an exclusive show with friends, chat with your favorite artist in their own virtual hangout as they drop their new single, and be able to directly buy their exclusive digital and physical merch. So, a lot going on there, right? It's much more than understanding that Napster still exists and they're a music streaming service. The buyer of Napster has a very, very unique idea for how they're going to take Napster to the next level. So, I think we'll just move on. This is kind of above my head, I will tell you. But a 3D conversational music streaming service. It'll be interesting to see if that gains greater traction and, really becomes a household name again. But Napster, headquartered in Nashville, sold for $207 million. Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg is opening a cocktail lounge in downtown Nashville. Still GIN Lounge by Dre and Snoop will open April 4th inside Nashville Live at 128 2nd Avenue North. The nightlife concept is inspired by rapper's gin brand, Still GIN by Dr. Dre and Snoop. Guests can expect a curated cocktail menu and entertainment featuring DJs, live performances, and playlists focused on hip-hop, R&B, and funk. Nashville Live, a 50,000 square foot venue that was once home to the George Jones Museum, now includes DraftKings Sports and Social, PBR Cowboy Bar, and Playground. The first ever location of Still GIN Lounge by Dr. Dre and Snoop is now in Nashville. So what I take from this is they created a alcohol brand called Still GIN, and now they are going to test whether or not their cocktail brand can also become a cocktail lounge, and they are starting in Nashville. I bet it works. I think the Nashville Live concept is really smart. A lot going on there. DraftKings Sports and Social, PBR Cowboy Bar, and Playground, and now Still GIN Cocktail Lounge. So very cool. I haven't been there, but I think in concept it works really well downtown in these more kind of interactive experiences whereby you're actually doing things rather than just sitting and listening to music that's way, way too loud and kind of shouting at each other and seeing how drunk everybody can get. I think having a little diversity downtown in terms of entertainment options in the long run makes a whole lot of sense for Nashville. Keep moving here. Consumer confidence has just dropped to a 4-year low. The March release of the long-running survey of consumer confidence fell to 92.9 this month from 100.1 in February. Why this is important is that the U.S. GDP is 70% driven by consumer spending, and when consumers grow pessimistic and feelings of potential individual financial fear and uncertainty grow, they will pull back on that spending. A pullback on spending at best will just lead to a slowing economy, but often can lead to a recession. Further evidence can be found in what's called the Expectations Index, which measures how people think the economy will look 6 months from now. It also tumbled to 65.2 from 74.8. That's the weakest reading since 2013. A sustained reading below 80 tends to signal a recession. Now, if consumer confidence falls and people actually pull back on their spending, there is a blessing in disguise there. You know, the biggest challenge that we have in the real estate business today is interest rates. So, a slowing economy, let alone an actual contraction based on historical precedents, will bring down treasuries, Fed funds, and overall borrowing costs. Let me translate that for you. That will bring down interest rates. When borrowing costs come down, buyers can pay more for the same property, and thus values tend to go up. So, if consumer confidence falls and consumer spending follows in lockstep, we may have an adjustment to interest rates, which would really unlock the commercial real estate market. So, you know, a short-term contraction in economic activity that would give us a lower interest rate environment, in my opinion, would very much be worth it. You know, so a little bit of short-term pain for long-term gain, I think, is the trade-off here. And I am rooting for interest rate adjustments by the end of this year. Last I heard, there were 2 planned by year end. You know, if the economic readings sped that up, I would very much welcome that. Next, Kid Rock is rebranding a Nashville restaurant. The singer is partnering with Detroit-based Joe Vicari Restaurant Group to rebrand Joe Muir Seafood, which, in my opinion, is a horrific name. You know, any name that's hard to pronounce or you're unsure of how to pronounce it is a miss, in my opinion. But nevertheless, the restaurant group will rebrand from Joe Muir Seafood to the Detroit Cowboy. Much better. The Detroit Cowboy combines the legacy of Joe Muir Seafood's fine dining experience with the creative, bold trails Kid Rock has forged with his music career. Joe Muir Seafood opened in Capitol View at 500 11th Avenue in August of 2023, marking Joe Vicari Restaurant Group's entrance into the market. So, open for less than 2 years before a rebrand. You know, I've said it 100 times. You have to have enormous kahunas to get into the fine dining restaurant business. The capital required, right? The upfront cash required just to get open for business is really staggering. You know, it takes a lot of meals to make back that initial investment, and then the longevity of those businesses sometimes is not so long. So you've got to make a lot of money and you've got to make it fast. Not to mention, you've got to be working all the hours you don't want to work. Nights, weekends, very difficult to staff. Probably 100 employees working there. I mean, what an incredibly difficult business. But guys are still getting into new fine dining concepts all of the time. So there must be a way to make it work, but I would advise you to stay away from that business. Be a consumer. Don't be a restaurant owner. But I do wish that well. I think that rebrand is very, very smart. So these guys seem to be pivoting and going to make another go of it. So I hope it plays out. Another golf venue is eyeing Nashville. True Golf Links will open 4 to 6 Nashville locations following a 40-location statewide franchise development deal with Knoxville native John Young. 4 to 6 locations in Nashville just sounds so crazy to me, but I'm not a golfer. Maybe there's all kinds of golfers that want to hit balls into simulators. True Golf Links locations are at least 3,800 square feet and have 5 or more simulator bays, a dining and bar area, pro shop and club, cleaning station. Larger locations, which Nashville's population could support, could also feature a driving range wall. There are membership options or the ability to pay per session. Its simulators also have the option for multi-sport mode where guests can play games like breakaway soccer, baseball, zombie dodgeball, and more. And that's wise, right? Because dads who want to go whack some golf balls, and then the mom says, hey, you're taking the kids with you. You ain't going by yourself. You can park those kids in front of breakaway soccer, baseball, or zombie dodgeball while you whack some golf balls into a screen. While exact locations have not been found yet, Young sees potential in Nashville neighborhoods like Mount Juliet, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. True Golf is one of several indoor golf concepts slated for Nashville. In-Town Golf Club, Pop Stroke, the Putting Zone, and 5 Iron Golf are all working on Music City locations. We brought you that content in previous podcasts, all of those new concepts. Meanwhile, Justin Timberlake and 8 a.m. Golf continue to make progress on what's called Bounty Club. Based in Utah and founded in 1983, True Golf aims to make the golf industry more approachable with its video games, esports platform called E6 Connect, simulators, and more. And I'm a huge fan of alternative uses of commercial space. My question there is, what does it cost? Not to belabor this, since we just had the same talk with the restaurant article, but what does it cost to get one of these businesses up and running? And how long does it take to recoup that initial investment? And I wonder how they're structuring these leases, because you would not want to get to the end of that lease having built out that space for your specific use and then not be able to continue to occupy the space if the deal or if the business is going well. But you'd also want the ability to get out of that lease if the business was doing less well than you anticipated. So by not owning the property, but by being a tenant, it adds another level of risk to these types of businesses. So I'm hopeful there is kind of a underground golf culture that I'm not aware of, and everyone is kind of leaning into these simulator style businesses. I hope that's true. I think it would be a good and healthy thing for the Nashville commercial real estate market, but it's also starting to feel a little bit saturated. Perhaps these are the concepts that kind of want to be located real close to people's homes, right? Where you can just kind of stop by on your way home. So maybe they're less destination businesses and more like neighborhood businesses. Perhaps that's the concept, but it's starting to feel a little bit saturated with all these new concepts, pickleball, golf, and others, where you're really got to sell a lot of memberships to meet your monthly nut, let alone make back your initial investment. The Boston Celtics sold. The NBA's Boston Celtics are being sold for a reported $6.1 billion to an ownership group led by private equity. The deal could revive plans to build a new sports arena, locating the team from its longtime venue known currently as TD Garden, the infamous Garden in Boston. They're planning to move out of that. Probably, if you're going to pay $6.1 billion, generally these equity groups are looking to tap into additional revenue to justify that upfront investment. A lot of times that means new stadiums where they can kind of control everything, control the parking, control the food, so they've kind of got their hands in all of those different pots. The new sports arena would cost well over $1 billion as part of a larger real estate development, but government subsidies and tax breaks deemed necessary for such projects usually would likely be a tough sell in Boston. The price paid for the Boston Celtics would be the highest ever paid for any U.S. sports franchise ever. All sports, all teams, ever. $6.1 billion, if this deal closes, would be the all-time record. Oracle leases more space in Nashville. The software giant signed a deal to sublease about 60,000 square feet in the Capitol View building at 511th Avenue North. The agreement means Oracle will take over 2 of the 3 floors healthcare technology company HealthStream has used for its own headquarters since late 2018. Oracle has run out of room in the Radius building just around the corner. After stretching to its current 140,000 square foot footprint in the building, Oracle hit a point where it had to go beyond the radius in order to accommodate its regional growth. In addition to the sublease agreement, the company also dropped $60 million for a site in the city's River North area that spans 3.7 acres. And let me tell you a story about that, right? So 3 years ago, a local developer paid $60 million for 3.7 acres near where Oracle would be located in the future. Big project plan there. It has to be a massive project to get $60 million for the dirt to pencil out. So they put down what they need to put down to actually acquire the property. You know, let's say it's 15 million. You put 15 million down, you borrow 45 million. You're carrying 45 million for 3 years. Okay? You're spending money on engineering. You're spending money on architectural. You're spending money on environmental, right? You probably have at least $500,000 in soft costs 3 years later. You decide that project isn't feasible for whatever reason. That developer turned around and flipped the 3.7 acres for the exact price that they paid 3 years ago of $60 million. So can you imagine the loss that developer took on that parcel when you factor in the carrying costs and the soft costs over 3 years? It would be absolutely brutal to carry a $45 million note for 3 years without any income coming from that site. Just to turn around and cut your losses, flip it to Oracle for the exact amount you paid 3 years ago. The development business, the ground up development business, is not for the faint of heart. I'll tell you, I am in the process of doing just a very small ground up project for me and my family. And I am almost done 2 years later. It is extremely difficult. You've got to really have a lot of courage and, resilience to bring any type of property out of the ground anywhere. I don't care how big or how small. It's a very difficult thing to do. So these ground up developers have always had the utmost respect for me. They have chosen one of the most difficult, most risky businesses that exist. If you get it wrong, you lose millions. If you get it right, you make millions. Let's keep moving. Combined with its latest purchase, Oracle has spent more than $337 million on land in the Nashville area as part of a commitment the company made in 2021 to create 8,500 jobs by 2031. Its headquarters development plan, the price tag for which is estimated to exceed $1.35 billion, would be the largest economic development in city and state history once it's completed. Tenants have collectively signed about 4 million square feet of office deals over the past year, a majority of which has been concentrated on the nicest and most recently constructed projects. So let's talk about that, the general office market, right? So there's kind of a lot of concern in the market that office buildings are no longer in vogue. It's a difficult asset type. You know, the reality of the situation is Nashville is pretty insulated from those challenges that we're seeing across the country. It's easier to be in the office building business in Nashville than most places. But even in Nashville, there's been a real flight to quality, right? So if you signed a lease 20 years ago, your building's starting to feel a little bit dated, doesn't have all the modern amenities. Maybe the action, where all of the big name companies are locating has moved, for example, out of downtown to either Music Row or Sobro or Germantown. These companies are using their leases turning over to upgrade their properties. So you're seeing tenants in Class B properties, when their leases are up, they're moving back to Class A properties. So at the very top of the market in the office building business in Nashville, they're finding success. In the middle of the market, the Class B, the Class C market, they're struggling a little bit more. Many of those businesses are now contemplating investing millions more into amenities so that they can attract additional tenants rather than be in kind of a race to the bottom. Many of these B and C buildings are kind of in a race to the bottom on rental rates, right? None of them have the amenities tenants want, so they can really only compete on price, and it's a race to the bottom. And believe it or not, many of these office building owners are saying, I don't want to participate in that race to the bottom. I'd rather invest $5 million in amenities and get my face rental rate higher. And that's what you're seeing kind of generally in the Nashville office building market right now. A flight to quality, B and C quality buildings, investing millions to upgrade amenities and try to keep some of these tenants, but also retain or attract rather new tenants that are looking for that Class A space. This is an interesting story, okay? Family Dollar sells for huge loss. Discount giant Dollar Tree is offloading Family Dollar. So not long ago, Dollar Tree bought Family Dollar after a bidding war with local Dollar General, right? Dollar Tree won, they got Family Dollar, and it's been a disaster ever since. Discount giant Dollar Tree is offloading Family Dollar at a bargain basement price, roughly $1 billion, after spending about a decade of unsuccessfully trying to turn around the chain and finally searching for a buyer. Chesapeake, Virginia-based Dollar Tree said it had reached an agreement to sell Family Dollar to an activist private equity firm. The sale will mark the end of Dollar Tree's failed effort to bolster Family Dollar's revenue and successfully merge it into its core business. The sale price is a mere fraction of the $9 billion that Dollar Tree paid for the chain in 2015, only to learn many of its stores were underperforming, poorly maintained, and in need of updates. So they paid $9 billion for Family Dollar, struggled for 10 years, and then flipped it for $1 billion. Dollar Tree's effort to improve Family Dollar's performance have been hampered by supply chain issues, poor store locations, a proposition that isn't value-centric enough, and a host of other operational problems. Basically, Dollar Tree bit off far more than it could chew, and to add insult to injury, the amount it paid for Family Dollar was inflated by a bidding war with Dollar General. Dollar Tree and Family Dollar are two different businesses with limited synergies, and each is at a very different stage of its journey. Dollar Tree said in March that it planned to close 970 underperforming Family Dollar stores. There are now 7,600 Family Dollar stores still open. So $1 billion for 7,600 Family Dollar stores. But the amount of money that was wasted is really quite mind-boggling. Buy it for 9, sell it for 1 after losing money for 10 years. Next, a mixed-use project to include a new baseball stadium. Lincoln Property Company, which is a massive national developer, is evaluating sites for a mixed-use development that would include a multi-purpose venue that could one day play host to Major League Baseball expansion team in partnership with Music City Baseball. Music City Baseball is a local group trying to recruit a Major League Baseball franchise. The MLB has had 30 teams since 1998. However, the current commissioner has discussed expanding the league to 32 teams before his retirement in 2029. Music City Baseball has been pursuing a Nashville team, but there's no guarantee that the league will tap the city for an expansion or relocation. They would be mad. They would be totally out of their mind not to seriously consider Nashville for a professional baseball team. Nashville is absolutely on fire. Major League Baseball less on fire. So perhaps Major League Baseball needs to get in the party here in Nashville and maybe mix up the offering that they're providing viewers, maybe grow the sport. The benefit of a sports entertainment anchor for a vibrant mixed-use project cannot be overstated. For a new franchise to be successful, it needs to be in a city that is ripe with tourism, energy, and excitement, all attributes that Nashville has. We are evaluating a variety of sites from 15 acres up to 50 acres with favorable attributes on location, transit connectivity, infrastructure, etc. That could include a world-class venue and ballpark. The mixed-use development associated with this project will include a thoughtful mix of entertainment, retail, dining, hospitality, multifamily, and office space. So a Major League Baseball stadium built into a larger mixed-use development, which is the way to do it. Don't put your baseball stadium out in the country where there's nothing else around. Build out all of that additional entertainment around the stadium. It gives people another reason to come watch. You know, if you can start before the game at a local bar or restaurant and eventually make your way to the game, I think that is a much more compelling offering than driving out in the country, parking in some massive parking lot, and then just making your way to the field to sit in your seat and watch 9 innings of baseball. I think that's the future. Any type of arena, as we're seeing with the Titans' new stadium, should be built into a larger mixed-use development. So I think that is the right way to do it, and perhaps having that partnership and scouting locations and having a location located increases the likelihood of actually getting a new franchise to come to Nashville. Now we're to our last story. The Ritz-Carlton planned in a new location. The developer behind Sobro's long-awaited Ritz-Carlton has been officially dropped from the deal, with the luxury hotel now pursuing a location in the Gulch. So no longer in Sobro, now they're in the Gulch. Marriott is no longer moving forward on its deal with M2 Development Partners to develop a 2-tower Ritz-Carlton hotel and residences in Sobro. The new Ritz-Carlton project is being eyed for the Gulch on the site of the current Beau building, located at 124 12th Avenue South. The site is located across from the Gulch Union building and a block from the W Hotel. Market Street Enterprises, the master developer of the Gulch neighborhood, has owned the 1.14-acre site, home to the office building, since 2000. Multiple luxury hotel brands already find a home in the Gulch, including the Thompson Hotel, as well as the W Hotel and the Westin. It's been nearly 4 years since the $540 million Sobro Ritz-Carlton project was announced. Again, 4 years they've been working on that. They've been spending money on that project for 4 years, only to have that project move to a different location. It is not an easy business to be in, being a developer. You've got to have real money behind you. In the past decade, Nashville has grown its hotel room supply by 52%, opening 20,000 rooms and is second only to New York City in the number of rooms set to open this year. M2 Development Partners paid $35 million for the property. So the Sobro location that this property, that the Ritz-Carlton was originally planned to be built on, the developer paid $35 million for the property in 2020. So they've been carrying a $35 million property for 5 years only to lose the deal. The project was slated to offer a 46-story tower with 242 hotel rooms and 165 condominiums, as well as a 32-story tower with 185 units. The original developer faced several financial snags and a foreclosure sale that seemed to foreshadow the deal's death. That developer was sued by Alabama-based Oakworth Capital Bank for failure to pay the necessary payment on a $10 million loan. The site's lender gained ownership of the property at a foreclosure sale. So he lost the Ritz-Carlton. He lost the $35 million parcel of land on which the Ritz-Carlton was going to be built. And he lost all the money he spent in that 5 years he was carrying that project and trying to develop it. I'm telling you all, you got to have respect for these ground-up developers. It is incredibly difficult. These guys have balls of steel. I don't know how they do it. I mean, obviously they start small, they put some money away, and if they have to take a loss, they can take a loss. But some of the amounts of money that we're talking about, when you're paying $35 million for an acre of land, I mean, you've really got to be confident that that project is ultimately going to get done and get done at a profit. So I've been hyping up ground up developers a lot because I've been doing a ground up development, and I'm just shocked by how difficult it is, to be honest with you. But that rounds out today's podcast. I hope we've entertained you. I hope we've taught you something. I hope we brought you some stories that perhaps you hadn't heard before. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Beechwood Commercial Real Estate Brokerage, your broker if you are a seller of commercial real estate in Nashville or the Southeast. If you're someone that owns a parcel of commercial real estate and you'd like to understand what it's worth today, we have an invite-only opportunity called a no strings attached valuation. If that's something that interests you, I encourage you to reach out to me and we'll see if we can line that up for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you again in a few weeks.